Welcome in. It is Backstretch Banter on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Backstretch Banter with Roush Keselowski Racing. It is episode number 1. I am Chris Childers. Today with me is Chris Buescher, driver of the number 17 Ford, the Fastenal car. Pretty exciting start to the season over the weekend in Daytona. We had rain, we had craziness. Certainly the duels were a lot of fun. Didn't get the results we wanted. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but it's Daytona. It's crazy, and you got to move on to the next race. But this is a brand new show, a brand new concept. This is our first ever episode. My name, again, is Chris Childers. I come from the college football world. I do SiriusXM College Sports Radio on Channel 84. We had Buescher with us last week before the race, talking about everything. But that's what I do. I'm a football guy, but so excited to be doing racing. I love it. It's in my blood. My grandfather, Art, was original Daytona driver back in the day, so it is a part of my family history. Chris Buescher, how are you? Welcome to this first ever Backstretch Banter, man. How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Just trying not to put too much pressure on myself to get this one wrong. So gotta start off with a bang, right?
Got to start it off with a bang. 100%. I mean, it's a big one. We're excited. To me, it's so cool to have this outlet for RFK to be able to talk inside what's going on with the team each and every week. That's what's kind of neat. I mean, how many people, we love watching races. We love seeing what happens and to see all the crazy, this team's maneuvering and 3 wide over the weekend and all that kind of stuff. But how many times do we go inside the garage? How many times do we get to know the actual drivers and the people on the team? And that's the point. That's what we're doing. That's the concept. That's exactly the point of the show. And we want to talk about life too, because these drivers like Chris, who just had another kid, and congratulations
Thank you
on
very
number
much.
2, which was well publicized, during Daytona. We want to talk about that. Get inside the lives of you and Brad Keselowski and perhaps David Reagan on occasion, and really get to know what's going on throughout the NASCAR season, which is a long season. And certainly it is a grind from Daytona to get to the end in Phoenix. But Chris, it is great to have you on this first episode. We just went through Daytona, P18 for you. Brad got banged up in the big one, so he didn't finish it. He was 33rd, and Reagan was in there and competitive the entire race. He was right behind you at number 20. It's Daytona. It's crazy. We get it. Now that it's over and there's so much buildup, how you feeling about things?
Slightly disappointed in the end result. But like you said, that's a lot of Daytona and what we know can happen there. We've been very fortunate to go down there and have really fast race cars and be able to have good decision-making and a little bit of luck on our side. There's an amount of luck that has to go into that style of racing, and I was making jokes about it actually this past week that you don't have no luck. You either have good luck or bad luck. No one had no luck, and it's got to go one way for you. But you have to set yourself up as best you can to be ready for those situations. So I don't think the results show the speed or the competitiveness that we had in any of our Ford Mustangs down there, and I'm disappointed because of that. At the end of the day, get caught up in that big one is surely frustrating and a disappointment for the end. We got back going and were able to salvage a bunch of spots because of how many cars got fully wiped out in it. But it just doesn't show what our weekend was like or what we were capable of, and that part bums me out for us, for our partners, for our fans. We had some glimpses. We were able to get up to the front and lead some laps and show some good strength, but really a strange race start to finish as well. Just the way fuel savings were seems like 70 or 80% of that race, and a lot of people just not really trying to actually make big moves, and it kept this strange calmness to a lot of the race, which meant that when it came time to really make things happen, nobody had been there yet. Nobody had tried it, and it made us all unaware of what was going to happen. And I think that's what ended up causing some of the chaos there at the end. Is nobody had been in those situations or put themselves there to understand what it was going to do and how it was going to react, and it ended up wiping the field out from the very front back.
So why did that happen yesterday? Like you said, there was a lot of pack racing. There was a lot of fuel saving. There was a lot of Fords with Fords and Toyotas with Toyotas and Chevys with Chevy. Was that premeditated ahead of time when you guys were in, your Ford meeting, or was that just something that kind of naturally happened?
Yeah, it's something that's been discussed through several years now, and I've seen it probably 6-7 years. Most of my Cup career, there's been these kind of conversations for super speedways, and a lot of it is how do you run through a pit cycle most efficiently as an organization, but you need friends at this style of racing. And so what you do is you get with your manufacturer, those that work with a lot of the same information and can have those kind of conversations throughout a race event, and you try and work together to find your way to make it better than the others. What that starts as is, hey, let's have a little bit of work together and help everybody raise the tide and float us all a little bit higher. And where that ends is everybody getting a little greedy and wanting to get selfish on it, and then it turns into sneakiness and some of what you see play out. But I've been a part of two different manufacturers through this style, and it's definitely different from both sides. I think we've done a pretty decent job of planning and coming up with different scenarios, and not too bad on the execution side, but I do feel like we've fallen off a little bit from that part of it on the Ford side, and that's not really any one person's fault. It's just it's hard to organize in that many numbers to get something done when it's such a knee-jerk reaction at times. So on top of that, you're trying to keep it secret from the other manufacturers, so we don't really get to talk about it on the radio. So we're out there making laps, and we're kind of blind in what's actually going on. So I think through the 500 we found ourselves in the third lane at one time when we really needed to be on the bottom getting ready to pit within 3 or 4 laps. That gets tricky trying to move around that quick. And so you go through moments like that where it's just hard to really execute it as we draw it out on paper. But there's just a lot of moving pieces, right? So it's very tricky, but it is something that we talk about. We work through a lot of different scenarios and we try and get right. And we certainly have gotten it right at times and been very dominant from a manufacturer point. From RFK being able to run 1-2 there last year at Daytona was definitely premeditated on how we were going to go about it. So some big wins in that regard. This one ended up not being a win for us. So, like I said, just a little bit frustrated by the way it all played out. Had fast cars, and that's the main thing you can ask for. Just didn't have everything go our way and had a little bit of bad luck getting caught up. And now we get to, for the first time that I know of, go right back to a super speedway and try it again. So we'll go down to Atlanta and give it another go. We've been really fast there as well, so excited about that.
It's coming up this weekend, like you mentioned, at the Atlanta Motor Speedway there, the super speedway down there in the ATL. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is. And I think you're right. You either have bad luck or you have good luck. There's no, you just don't have any luck, because it is crazy what happens there. And it's one of those things, you could just be in the wrong place at the wrong time. And for Brad yesterday, certainly it seemed to be that situation. But Atlanta, a chance to redeem. The important thing is, though, the cars were fast. They looked good. I think anybody that watched the race, if you saw the result at the end, if you just looked at the numbers, you were like, oh, it wasn't a great day for RFK. If you watched the race, you were like, the cars are good. This team's going to have a chance this year. This team's going to do some damage. That, to me, was the biggest takeaway. I was sad as an RFK fan, but I was excited as hell for the next week. I think that's the big takeaway coming out of that race, that Atlanta, there's a lot of hope. There's not people that, oh, man, the cars are slow. That's not the takeaway. It was just bad luck. When things get a little nutty, we're talking Daytona. It's our first ever Backstretch Banter, RFK Racing. The Chris's together, Chris Childers and Chris Buescher. Chris the driver
right there. Yeah,
dangerous
start.
Right? When you get the double C. That was my nickname as a kid, but it was because I was too fat. People would call me double C. But anyway, Buescher's with. I'm sure Buescher never had that problem. He's a
my last name doesn't start with a C. So
well, but still, you were working out before the show. I mean, you were pumping iron.
We're fresh in, man. Come on. Yeah, it's fresh out of the gym, right below us here. So trying to get ready for the next one. No rest. We already missed our workout yesterday from being in Daytona and extra, so we got to get back on schedule here.
Yeah, I've missed my workout 10 years in a row. So I think you're
well
going to
done.
be, I think you're going to be okay. Getting back and missing one of them yesterday. It's RFK here. It's Backstretch Banter, brand new show, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. We're recapping Daytona with Chris Buescher, driver of the number 17 Fastenal Ford. He's going to be in the buildsubmarines.com number 17 Ford this weekend, which is a really cool partnership. I thought that was, I didn't even know that existed, where you could get in build submarines and be a part of the civilian program. I mean, I guess they just magically appeared, but submarines, there's a whole program, and you can check out buildsubmarines.com to get all the information on that, and a really cool design. The wrap this week is really cool for the number 17 car. Looking forward to seeing that. When you're in the middle of Daytona, we got about 10 laps left to go, and we get that things are going to get wild. Things are going to get spicy down the stretch. At what point do you get out of draft mode, you get out of fuel mode, and you realize somebody's about to do it? Whether it's Ross Chastain, who's going to get a little wild and try to find an opening or whatever. Is there something where the spotter's got to tell you? Can you feel it? What's going on in the race car then?
It's always a little bit dangerous when you go that long into a race, and it's as calm as it was. Because everybody is saving something for that very end. 10 laps is fairly predictable for something happening. We all get the same message from the spotters. Hey, that's 10 to go, or that's 11 to go. It's time to make our move, time to figure something out. And that can lead to some desperate times and desperate moves, and ultimately that's what ends up making a mistake and getting a big crash caused and turning into a bit of a mess. So they're impossible to predict, and I think back a couple super speedways ago, maybe a few years ago now, and we had gone through this, get caught up in these wrecks with 5, 7, 8 laps to go, and it's like, all right, well, maybe we need to think about it. And it's not just from being in the middle of the pack, right? Brad was P2 and got dumped. Yep. If you look at that, there's really no safe spot anymore. So it's not like you can just be ahead of it like we used to look at from the metrics. So we had this discussion of, all right, well, if we really want to win this thing, we have to be there first. So why don't we wait for that wreck to happen? And then once they wipe out 15, 18 cars like we did this week, then we regroup. There's a lot less cars to pass. We'll make a good run at it with 7 or 8 to go. You can do that in a quick moment of time. And we made that decision and said, all right, that's our game plan. We're going to be nice, calm, and smart about it. And wouldn't you know, there wasn't a caution at all at the end, and it went right to the checkered flag, clean as can be, just a complete anomaly on what we typically see, and we ended up with a terrible finish, a clean race car, but feeling like we didn't put our best foot forward, and made the decision there that we're here to race, and you're going to take some chances. Jack's told me for the last 4 or 5 years now that he's got a philosophy on superspeedway racing, and what he says is there's a tax that you have to pay in NASCAR. He said you usually get that tax collected at a superspeedway, and that tax is that when you race, you're going to lose a race car from time to time. And he was telling me that we're not here to ride around and try and save equipment in hopes that we can make a good surge at the end. We're here to race. And if that tax comes due, then that tax comes due, and unfortunately, it did for us this past weekend. So it is nice to have that mindset that says, look, we're going to race, and understand that don't let it be your fault. Do your best to make those smart decisions and be in good spots and read the room a little bit or the atmosphere around you. But no, there's going to be things that are completely out of your control, and that's what ultimately ended up getting all 3 of us there in the last 10 laps of the Daytona 500.
Was the strategy any different from when you guys won last season, when you finished 1 and 2? Did you approach everything the same, and it's just the luck? Like last time you had good luck, this time you have bad luck, but was the strategy going into the track? I know it's a different race. That one's the night race. It's not the Daytona 500. It doesn't have the glitz and the glamour, but was it a similar mentality going in?
It was, and for me, the Daytona 500, there's definitely more energy in the atmosphere down there, but I can look through that, and it's easy for me to say, you know what, this is just another race. This is just another opportunity to get a trophy, and it doesn't change how you would go about it. You don't put extra emphasis on it. I want to win this week in Atlanta just as bad as I did the Daytona 500. They're all trophies. They're all tickets punched into the playoffs. They all do the same thing. So I'm not one to really put extra weight on one race or another. That doesn't mean others don't, and I think that can lead to some of the elevated risk taking when we get to the 500, and I think you did see some of that play out. That's me kind of trying to get in other people's heads, but for us, we know what worked for us last time. It worked obviously as perfect as it could have. But don't think that we didn't dive into that and try and pick out our mistakes and figure out how to do it better yet. That's certainly what we do. We dive in, figure out, try and find defining moments within that race that said we could have done better. We could have put ourselves in a better spot, a safer spot. Maybe wouldn't have had to be so aggressive at this time. We were always looking at that to try and get it right. And so we did a ton of homework leading into the 500, and some of it, the cars just didn't line up in the right order for us, and we weren't able to get all three of our cars in a line at any point during the race, and that's interesting to say because it sounds like it should be easy sitting here talking, right? You just back up, get in line. Well, the race didn't allow that opportunity with fuel saving modes going on so much. Really. We backed the pace up 5 seconds from what we should have been running. 5 seconds a lap as a whole entire pack. That means our qualifying laps were a second to a second and a half faster with a single car at Daytona. That doesn't happen.
That's wild.
And it was very frustrating. As a driver, it wasn't fun to do it that way, but it's the cards we've been dealt, and it's what we have to do to try and minimize our time on pit road, to try to make sure that we can cycle through to the front of the pack so that you have that track position when it is time to really put the pedal down. So I don't know. I don't know how to fix that right now, and certainly have a couple of loose ideas, but it wasn't the most exciting race from where I'm sitting, and I'm actually curious to try and understand the fans' perspective on it and see where they're at, because I don't know if it looked decent or not. I don't know if you can tell that we're running that slow. I don't know that if from the stands it looked like we were racing 100%, because you weren't able to. You were so much part throttle, and even if you wanted to make a move, you were boxed in. You couldn't even go anywhere. And so, man, even if we wanted to go start pushing, I had people waving me off all throughout the race, trying to tell me not to push them, not to try and drive forward. I'm sitting like, man, we're racing, aren't we? I mean, this is what we're trying to do. I want to go, and I'm tired of watching one lane be better than the other. I want our lane to move. And then as soon as you try and push somebody, they're sitting there on the brake pedal and waving out the window like you're doing something wrong. I just not the most fun I've had super speedway racing in the last several races. So yes, we looked at it very similar to the last race that went so well for us, but so many different factors did not line up to that race, and it ended up making us try to call a few audibles along the way, but really just didn't let us connect as an organization.
What happened in particular? And we're here, Backstretch Banter, RFK Racing. Chris Childers with the driver of the 17, Chris Buescher, at the end of stage 2. And I was watching at home. I wasn't at the racetrack, so you're kind of at the mercy of the camera angles and what they show on TV. But it seemed like you were close to getting into the back of the 6, and you guys kind of teaming up together and doing something. But what was going on there towards the end of the stage? Because it seemed like you can never quite get to him.
Well, I haven't had time to go back and look and see what happened. So to be fair, all the information I have is staring through the back window of the 6 car right now.
Sure.
At that moment. But I know what we were thinking was, we were able to find each other, able to push a little bit. Felt like if our cars were fast together, we could push our row forward. We could grab some stage points, and it seemed like it was going to work out okay. And then for whatever reason, our lane stalled out a little bit, got to the point where we were pushing really hard on the 6, and we weren't going anywhere. Cars in front of us weren't able to connect and make that speed. And so, it got to the point where we were just risking actually taking out my teammate or my boss at that point, and not making any progress. So, it was one of those moments where we had to take a little breather back, look for a hole up, hoping that something would open. But again, you just ended up boxed in. So, weren't able to capitalize on the moment that we actually did find each other and felt like we were in a good spot. Couldn't quite make it work, and I have no idea what happened to the outside of us. Honestly, I was just trying to make our road go, and I don't think that we found the momentum. So at this point, I don't know what it was ahead of Brad that wasn't working. I don't even know what cars it was until we go back and really study it. So it's just tunnel vision for so much of it. But just thought we'd be able to get some stage points there or try and get a stage win, but we ended up so boxed in the whole race. It was very different than the last race there.
And I'm sure the next one's going to be even, that much different. It's all those races are different animals when you get down to Daytona and the superspeedway racing. But on to Atlanta. It is RFK Backstretch Banter episode number 1. Chris Childers, Chris Buescher, stick around. We got more coming up next. And if you were paying attention last week, not only did this guy race the 500, he became a dad for the second time. Let's talk about that when we come back right here at SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. We're back here. It is Backstretch Banter on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing. We got the driver of the number 17 Fastenal Ford with us today as my co-host on the program, Mr. Chris Buescher. Came off Daytona. We're going to go to Atlanta next week, but in the meantime, he's got to be dad. He just had his second child last week during all the Daytona craziness. He did the duels, then he left, and then I think David Reagan was doing practice a little bit, doing both the 60 and the 17, and then Chris came back for the race. But Charlie now has a brother. I believe Rhett is the name of your new son. And Chris, congratulations on the new baby, man.
Thank you very much. It was a little bit of a chaotic week, and certainly became the highlight of the Daytona 500 for me. So everything is good. Got to come back home, be there for them, and be able to get settled in, back to the house, and back to the racetrack real quick. But it's been an amazing time having a ball with Charlie, and can't wait to watch Rhett grow up a little bit and start getting them back to the racetrack and around it a little. I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know if I want to get him a baseball bat or if they need to be behind the wheel of race cars. I'm scared already because Charlie loves to drive around the farm. So,
oh really?
We're in really
nice
big trouble already. I'm feeling that.
I love that, and I love that Charlie has the itch already to go fast and get behind a race car. If it's in the blood, it's in the blood. You know what I mean? I mean, baseball's cool. Always introduce that. Basketball, I mean, it's safer. Certainly, you're not going high speeds, but if it's in the blood, it's in the blood. I wouldn't fight it. I would just let it happen, and just, you know what you got to do? Just teach them how to do it the right way. Have them be as safe as possible as they go through it. And not be nuts, right? Not. Let's not drive like Ross Chastain. Let's be civilized. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Little joke.
Are
joke.
you though? Are you?
Not really. Well, they always say there's a truth. There's a little grain of truth to every or a lot of grain of truth. Yeah. Quite frankly, to every joke that you can make. But you just had the kid. Did anybody give you a hard time? I mean, it's a family show, but let's not get into the details, but the timing of everything. I mean, the fact that this kid was due the week of Daytona.
Yeah. No, everybody was great. Everybody at RFK was super helpful in being able to get me back home. Obviously understanding it is the Daytona 500 and there is a ton on the line to start the season off. Can't really miss the first one. But and we had that conversation too, Emma and I, and understood that it was going to be tricky. But this was not the due date. It was March 2nd, way further
Oh,
along
really?
than this. So this was a little bit of a
Gotcha.
surprise,
Gotcha.
and turned into a little bit of chaos there on Wednesday or really Thursday morning. So
So you did the duel and had no idea that it was coming?
I knew she was
'Cause you
heading to
thought
the
it was a couple
hospital
weeks-
before the
Okay.
duel, and I
Okay.
did get that phone call. She said, "Hey,
Okay.
I'm heading to the hospital. Just so you know, you might want to think about getting home." And I feel like
Really?
this could be a possibility, and so made the arrangements, got through. We were in duel 1, fortunately, and as soon as the duel was over, hopped on the plane back home with a lot of the pit crew members from the first duel, and
Yeah.
we landed back, and I jumped in the truck. I was flying down the road, and I called her just to check in and see where we were at, and she's like, "Well, you don't have to rush. He's here, but it's but come
you're
on
kidding.
down." So yeah, it wasn't quite gonna make it there. It happened quick, and
How much of a difference in time?
almost 2 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, almost
Okay.
2 hours. So there was really no way other than skipping the duel that I truly would have made it. But we did not anticipate him being born that quickly. So was able to get home. He was healthy. She was healthy. And we were able to spend those couple days in the hospital, get everybody situated, missed the Friday practice, which typically we don't do a whole lot other than try and shake down after just going through the motor and checking everything out. So ended up not being a major loss. I surely would have liked to go out there with a group of Fords and try and put down some laps and feel out the draft a little bit. Our duel only had 3 other Fords in it, so we really didn't get to do much of that manufacturer teamwork. But all things considered, it's not a big loss to miss that Friday practice, and then the rain came and it didn't stop. So Saturday didn't miss anything. Sunday, with it raining out, didn't end up hurting my feelings too terribly bad because I was pretty whipped. So
I bet.
I was
bet
tired.
you were exhausted. Yeah.
So getting to get a little sleep that night and be ready for Monday ended up being okay by me. Now that's being a little selfish, and I realize a lot of people did not enjoy that, but I can't control the weather, so don't blame me for it. Just blame me for appreciating a little bit of rest time.
Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing, Chris Childers, Chris Buescher. Mr. Buescher just had child number 2, as was well documented during the Daytona weekend. It was right after the duel. He had to go home and be with the missus, and she had Rhett, and he said, what a wild moment. I mean, if you think about it emotionally, dude, you're there, you're in the duel, you're in Daytona, you're in work mode, you're a professional athlete. And now you're back home, and now, oh my gosh, I got this kid I got to take care of, and now I have a boy, which is really cool, and we got all these wonderful things going on. And then you got to go back, and you got to get back to strategizing, and I'm running a race, and I mean, how the hell do you keep all of your emotions intact during all that? That's a lot, dude. I mean, that's because we all have work anxiety, so I'm sure you had work anxiety.
Oh yeah. It's I'm pretty level-headed most of the time, but
good for you. Because I would have been nuts.
Saturday, I was good Friday, Saturday. I knew it was going on. It would have been tough on most weeks, but I was good until Sunday, and actually flew down that morning, and somewhere in that flight. Well, I guess first of all, somewhere in my flight home Thursday night is when Rhett was born, and then somewhere in the flight on the way back down is when they called it. So as soon as we touched the ground, they said, "Hey, we're not doing anything today. It's Monday." And I'm sitting here thinking, "Man, well, I would have liked to have stayed back home for a little while." But at the same time, what you're mentioning is it was time to get your mind right and start thinking about how the Daytona 500 was going to play out, and having that afternoon to do that, to talk to our teammates, to our team. We actually had a ton of our sponsors and partners there, so I was able to connect with them, and wasn't able to make any of the things we had planned for the rest of the week. So to get caught back up with them a little bit and get all the congratulations from them. Got a boys Fastenal onesie this time. We've got the pink 17 Fastenal onesie for Charlie back in the day, but got another one with just the white number on it. So it's ready for him when he grows up just a little bit. And then, really just started talking about strategy of the race, how it's going to play out, how much fuel saving we're going to do, what do we predict the field's going to do once we have seen them on track, right? You talk about all you want before you get there, and you need to see the duels play out. You need to see practice. We have a new body. The Toyotas have a new body. There's a lot of unknowns to the weekend that, we were just trying to make our best guess at and had a little more info at that point. So let you go through all that, get a good night's sleep, wake up. It was still raining Monday morning, which really scared me.
Yeah,
and
I know.
Then it cleared out, and it was a beautiful day. So the fans, they stayed. Man, it was a packed house. It was
incredible.
there.
I couldn't believe that it was
I couldn't either. For a Monday race, that was unbelievable. So that was amazing. Appreciate all of them hanging out with us. A lot of our celebrities stayed around and wanted to be a part of it and see it. The Rock was our grand marshal. He stuck around. It was a really cool day for us. It was a cool race. Like I said, really nice day for it. Just didn't get the results we wanted, that we were capable. We know we had a lot more speed,
Sure.
And just didn't get the result.
Well, you had the baby and you got home and you had to put the result behind you and hold your kid, and maybe you had to change a diaper or two in the last 24 hours. I have no idea what went down. How much I want to get inside the mentality here because, I'm married. I have a child. I have one who's 10 years old. I'm curious, like if I would have missed that, I would have been destroyed. Doesn't matter what kind of job I had. I mean, I could have been running, in Daytona and it wouldn't have mattered. Do you have the wife, and, say it as kindly as you want, because my wife's listening in the other room and she's 100% this way. I would have died if I wasn't there for my kid's birth. Was that the situation?
It was surely a bummer. We talked a lot about it.
Yeah.
Knowing that the due
I'm
date
not
was
saying
gonna be
you
in
were there. I
season.
mean, you still
I
were
know
there
what
the
you're
day
saying.
of. I'm
Yeah,
saying, like, if you didn't go back, if you would have been at the track for 3 or 4 days and she was there by herself.
There was
That's
no
what
way
I'm
to
saying.
do that. There was no way we could.
Yeah,
we
okay.
could do
That's
that.
what
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
guilt I'm talking about. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We were. I was coming home one way or another. I could have drove back home if I had to, but
Oh yeah.
it was something you're not gonna miss being there for, and
No.
and for that moment. So, it's something we talked about a lot, knowing that there's a couple moments through a weekend that you really got to be there for, and one of those is race day. For Daytona week, one of those is the duels. There's a lot riding on those. They pay out points, which can make a big difference on the end of the year. We only got 1 point out of ours, so I don't know. When you look back on it, was it worth that much? Well, maybe not, but you gotta go for it. You gotta try, and no, it was the idea of figuring out how to make it work, how to go back. Jack was adamant that whatever needed to happen could happen. Brad and Steve and everybody making sure that whatever we needed to do, we could do to make sure I could get back home, and understanding that practice wasn't that important, and especially with the radar on the weekend, you felt comfortable that pretty comfortable we weren't going to race on Sunday from the get go. So I was able to get back. It was strange because you come off the non-racing season, is how I've heard it put. Not the off season, it's the non-racing season, and you come back from that, and you're used to being home on Fridays and Saturdays, and I'm sitting there, and it's a Daytona 500 week, and you're still home on Saturday, and I'm like, all right, I'm missing something. Something has started to hit me that I should be there. And even though all the on track stuff was canceled for us that day, I'm sitting there like, okay, well, I still need to get back and be ready for Sunday when they fire this up, and then look at the radar, obviously paying attention, and like, I want to stay home, I want to be a part, I want to get settled in, and then the nerves start getting you. You're like, all right, well, I need to be thinking about this. This is a big deal. There's a lot that's going to go into it. So it was still good. It was a good few days at home. It was nice to come back and be able to catch our breath and try and figure out how we're going to do life again with another one. It's going to be a little tricky, but looking forward to the challenge. It's Charlie's been actually an absolutely amazing baby. So we'll see if we get that lucky twice. But
Fingers crossed.
Been a blast. Yeah. Keep him crossed.
Yeah,
Hopefully it's good. I just want him to sleep, man. If he'll sleep,
Oh
we'll,
gosh, yeah.
we'll be in good shape.
Have you done the baby wise thing? Like I tried it when I had my kid and I just kind of quit. But do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know
there's a way to. There's this book called Baby Wise that they swear that if you follow the steps, your kid will sleep on a regular schedule. But we tried it, and my ADHD just kept me. I was just like, screw it. I'm at the whim of the kid. It's not going to happen, and sleep's overrated, right? Like that was kind of what I did.
I just get all the information from Emma, so she may be reading it and paying attention. That may be what we're doing, and I not know it. But she tells me our schedule and how we're going to do it, and it's worked out.
She's the crew chief.
Charlie. Yeah, she's the crew chief at the house.
She's your crew chief at home. She's the home version of Scott Graves. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We got more here. It is Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing, Chris Childers and Chris Buescher, right here, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. We are back here. It is Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing. I'm Chris Childers, SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Chris Buescher, the driver of the RFK Fastenal number 17 Ford, is my co-host today. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you and talk about the race this past weekend, and certainly the fact that you had the birth of your second child, a wild week. Hopefully the rest of the season is a little bit calmer, but this is a wild one, and certainly one to be celebrated for what happened with the home life. I want to talk about, I was watching the race, and I watch all your races, and not every race, but most races. When I see the 17, I see Fastenal. I see that brand. I see the association. They've been such a good partner with Roush Fenway Keselowski for so many years, going back to the Roush Fenway days and previous drivers. And there's something about Fastenal is a great brand. For people that don't know what it is, I know so many people that use it for their business. If they need supplies, if they need tools, if they need something in a pitch, Fastenal, there's a gazillion different stores all over the country. They can get it right away. They got what they have, or they got what they need in stock. It really is a great resource. They have been so loyal to the 17. What has that relationship been like for you? And honestly, how supported do you feel with that sponsorship?
No, it's been fantastic. Think about 20 years ago and trying to go short track racing back in Texas, and we were getting a lot of our stuff out of Fastenal stores that you couldn't find from your local hardware place. You had to go find specialty stuff that was better, nicer, lighter, faster, and it's funny how everything comes full circle. But it is amazing that Fastenal has been a part of RFK for more than a decade now, and it's been so great to us.
That's pretty rare for a sponsor.
It really is. You don't see that very often, and it's cool to know everybody there for so long. Our championship year in Xfinity 2015, we had Fastenal on our 60 Ford Mustang for the last race of the year at Homestead, among a few others through the season. And so we have all of our championship photos with Fastenal on board, all the burnout photos, all the big flags, the big trophy, the celebrations. So that was really cool. And what a way to end my Xfinity career till to date. We're not done Xfinity racing forever, but to date.
Yeah.
And then spent a couple of years through my rookie seasons in the Cup Series elsewhere, and got to come back to RFK back in 2019. Years are flying by, but to come back over and right in the 17 with Fastenal on board was excellent. It was like we just never left, and it is cool. They're a great partner that we were able to have at the track that has their vending machines and their nut and bolt bins throughout our shop here that help us literally operate and build race cars every day. So it's not just a partner that you see their colors on the side of the car. It is a partner that actually helps us be better and be faster on track, and you don't get those opportunities very often. So that is a really cool connection for us. Something that has been probably a big pride of ours is having Fastenal as our anchor sponsorship, and like I said, great people to work with. Get to have a lot of fun with the employees with Fastenal. at the racetrack that we're able to bring out and watch races. Got them their first Cup win back at Bristol 2 years ago now. So that was a big deal. And when you think about the drivers that Fastenal has been with through the years, you're talking about Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards and Ricky Stenhouse, and we were able to deliver that first Cup win. That was a big deal for myself, selfishly for one, because I really like the Bristol night race, but for Fastenal to get their first Cup win, it's kind of wild to think about it. It took that long. I'm bummed it took that long, but super stoked to be that driver that was able to make that happen for them here at RFK. So that was big to go
special.
do it again. Last year was obviously heading in the right direction, and we're in a really good place now to the point now where they're expecting it every week, which is good because we expect it out of ourselves. So we need that extra pressure. We need everybody to be hyped up. I just think about last year at the end of the season, went down to a big Fastenal convention, and I've never been to probably half a dozen of them through the years, and I've never had the amount of excitement from Fastenal employees and guests that we had at that one last season, at the end of last season. Everybody's hyped up. They're ready for this. They're paying attention to the racing program. They're proud of it, and they're buying in, and they're fully behind it, and that's really cool. And it's exciting to have them with us. Hopefully for a long time to come. That's our plan, and also keep winning. I think we can convince them to hang around.
Oh, you give them a taste of winning. I bet you that they're not going anywhere.
We talk about that a lot.
Addictive.
Winning fixes everything in racing. So
everything. It fixes everything in anything. I mean, football that I talk about every day, basketball, things could be awful, and all of a sudden you win, and greatest guy in the world, greatest thing, 100%. It absolves everybody of their sins when you win, 1,000%. We'll take a break. We'll come back. You got a different sponsor this week, buildsubmarines.com, which is really a cool thing that they have. We can mention what they do when we come back, plus talk about the Atlanta race. Race week number 2 is upon us. We'll get into it right around the corner. Childers and Buescher on Backstretch Banter with RFK Racing on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. We are back here, Backstretch Banter, RFK Racing on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio. Chris Childers and the driver of the number 17 Mustang for Ford, RFK Racing, Fastenal, and this weekend, buildsubmarines.com. Chris Buescher going to Atlanta. Chris, buildsubmarines.com is going to be on the car as you go to another super speedway, different than Daytona, but a big opportunity nonetheless coming up for the team.
Yeah, for sure. Very different. But a lot of the same things carry over. So a lot more handling when we go to this one, which I think is something that's been very good for all of our super speedways. But with the cool temperatures, it didn't show up quite as much at the 500. It's going to show up in Atlanta because the track's a lot tighter, a lot narrower. It's still very fast, and it's going to be a big part of it. So we've been very fast there as well, so it definitely gives us a high level of confidence heading in that it's going to be another great race for us, another chance to win a race. What better way to do it than right off the bat and do it with buildsubmarines.com on board. Another partner of ours that has been absolutely fantastic to work with and have such a cool opportunity for those looking to get into that industry of literally building submarines. I keep telling them I want to drive one. I want to be behind the. I don't know if it's even a wheel, dude. If it's joysticks, or if it's just too
whatever
many people.
It is.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I
want to do it. I want to drive this. Like where are we going? And as long as somebody else will navigate, because I guess you can't really see where you're going.
Yeah,
so
you
I
should
need
have
a spotter.
Roush Fenway submarine race and do it for social media. You versus Brad. Put a 17 on a sub and a 6 on the other one, and just go.
Yeah,
how great would that be?
Sounds great until it turns into a Days of Thunder beach scene.
Yes. Yeah,
slapping sides of submarines together, trying to keep it off the ocean floor. That'd be a rough start. Hard to explain.
It would be kind of awesome, though. It'd be hard to explain to the sponsor, what you've done to the sub when you messed up the side of it. But it would be kind of awesome to see it. Anyway, buildsubmarines.com is the sponsor this weekend. Give us a little detail on Atlanta, the intricacies of the track. I know you guys run well there. You're confident going in. what do you have to kind of change mentally going from Daytona to Atlanta?
A couple things that are really obvious. Well, maybe not to the fans sitting in the stand, but for us, it's a lot tighter radiuses. You're gonna have to lift. You're not always wide open there. There is a certain amount of lifting that you have to do. It's still drafting, lots of speed, minimal lifts, minimal time on brakes. That really is just to modulate distance off of other bumpers, but it's tricky since the reconfiguration, and I was pretty upset about the repave early on. Atlanta, the old surface, was my favorite 1.5 mile surface that we went to. I love that racetrack, and to see it get torn up really hurt my heart. And it still does.
Why did they do it? I forget what the purpose was again.
We had couple things. The surface had gotten so bad. It was great for racing until a piece of asphalt came up and started having issues with cars. That's main thing, big thing we had is any kind of weather, rain on the racetrack, weepers would take hours and hours and hours to get fixed. And at the end of the day, it was time. I don't like it, but it was time, and it just wasn't fair to our fans that were coming out. And the sun would be out, it would look great, and we'd have just water pouring down the racetrack through the seams that were just so aged. So is what it is. So we have a very different Atlanta now. I've actually come to enjoy it too. I do miss the old one, but the new one's been good for us. And like we were just saying, it's very tight. They added banking. They actually narrowed it up, so it is very much a narrow racetrack. 3 wide is very tricky. We can do it, but it's tricky. And with that, it's a very fast Atlanta now. Well, always was, but stays fast throughout a run. We'll be looking, not much tire wear yet, but it's starting to show up. And you're trying to figure out where you're going to take these runs. The next thing that is way different is pit road. Pit road is very early in the turn 3. That's something very new. It's the only place we do that at. This takes a lot of studying and getting used to as well.
Going to be a lot of fun this weekend. Chris Buescher, looking forward to it. Cannot wait to watch the race. I'm actually going to be there this week, so I cannot wait to be in the pits, say hi to you guys, be a part of it, and I'm pretty confident we're going to go 1 and 2 this week. I said that last week. I said 1, 2, 3, but I feel good about it this week. Buescher, thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out on the first episode of Backstretch Banter.
That's right. Yep. Thanks for having us on. We're looking forward to growing this thing and making it big. Hopefully everyone can join us and have some fun with us, right?
100%. It's all about fun, and we just want to take you behind the scenes and get to know these awesome people that are working their butt off every single week to make these cars go fast and to bring you inside this great sport of NASCAR from the RFK perspective. That is the goal. That is Chris Buescher. I am Chris Childers. Join us every Wednesday right here on Backstretch Banter with Roush Fenway Keselowski Radio on SiriusXM NASCAR Radio, Channel 90.